Welcome to the last video in our lesson on ordering fractions. Now for the first example, it says determine if the following set of fractions are correctly arranged from least to greatest. Now we've learned several methods of comparing and ordering fractions. One of those ways is to find equivalent fractions and find a common denominator. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to change all of our denominators to 30. Because when I look at the denominators that we have here, 5, 10, 15, 6, and 30, I see that they can all be evenly divided into 30. So let's start with 4 over 5. What do we need to multiply 5 by to get 30? That is 6. So multiplying 4 and 5 by 6 gives me 24 over 30. Now 9 over 10 can be multiplied by 3 to give me 27 over 30. 13 over 15 can be multiplied by 2, giving us 26 over 30. 5 over 6 can be multiplied by 5. And lastly, we have 29 over 30, which don't need to be multiplied by anything because it already has a denominator of 30. So now let's look at what we have here. So if I want to see if they're in the correct order, I'm going to look at the numerators. So I see that 24 is the smallest, so that is correct, and 29 is the largest, so that is correct. Now if I look at the middle three, I have 27, 26, and 25. Now 26 is correct, it's just that the 27 and the 25 need to be switched. So I'll make that note now and say, no, they are not ordered correctly. 9 over 10 and 5 over 6 should be switched. Then they'll be correctly arranged. Now for the next example, it says which fraction was incorrectly placed on the number line. So another method to compare and order fractions is to compare each fraction to the given benchmarks on the number line. So if we start with 1 over 25, I see that we have a numerator that is a lot smaller than the denominator. And in those cases, we always get a value close to 0. So that is correct. Now when I look at 9 over 18, that's placed on a half. Well, since 9 is a half of 18, that is correct as well. Now let's look at 3 over 4 and 13 over 16. Well, I can create an equivalent fraction with 3 over 4 by multiplying it by 4. Giving me 12 over 16. So I see that 13 over 16 is placed to the right of that, so that is correct. Now if we look at the last number, 6 over 5, I notice that that's an improper fraction. The numerator is larger than the denominator. So that means it should be greater than 1, not less than 1. So that should actually be placed just to the right of 1. So I'll make that note and say that 6 over 5 is greater than 1, since it's an improper fraction, not less. So it should be on the right. Now for this last example, we have to find a fraction in between each pair of numbers. So in A we have 6 over 11 and 10 over 11. Now between 6 and 10 we have several whole numbers. So we can choose 7 over 11, 8 over 11, even 9 over 11. Any of these fractions are correct. Now B is a little bit more difficult because I have 3 over 5 and 4 over 5. There is no whole number between 3 and 4. So what we got to do in this case is find equivalent fractions. You can multiply 3 over 5 and 4 over 5 by any number. So I'm just going to multiply it by 2 to make it easy. So if I multiply 3 over 5 by 2 over 2, I get 6 over 10. Now if I do the same thing with 4 over 5, I get 8 over 10. So in between 6 over 10 and 8 over 10, we can write 7 over 10. Now for C, I notice that we don't have a common denominator like we had in A and B. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Find a common denominator. So when I look at 6 and 9, I'm going to try to find a number that 6 and 9 can evenly divide into. In this case, it would be 18. So I need to multiply 1 over 6 by 3 over 3 to get 3 over 18. Now 4 over 9 needs to be multiplied by 2 to give me 8 over 18. Now I have several options here for fractions that we can write in between 3 over 18 and 8 over 18. I'm going to say 4 over 18. Now whenever we're dealing with fractions, we can't forget to always put it in simplest form. We need to reduce 4 over 18. Now both of these numbers are even, so I can divide by 2, giving me 2 over 9. So I can say that 2 over 9 is in between 1/6 and 4/9. Now lastly, we have an improper fraction and a mixed number. So let's make both of these improper fractions. Now we've already practiced going from improper to mixed, but we haven't done mixed to improper. So let's review. There are 2 steps. We are going to multiply the whole number by the denominator, and then we'll add the numerator. So in our case, we have 4, the whole number, and 2 is the denominator. 4 times 2 is 8. And if I add on the numerator to that, which is just 1, I get 9. So we write 4½ to be 9 over 2. Now we got to find a fraction in between 17 over 4 and 9 over 2. So we're going to do what we did in C and find a common denominator. Now common denominator is 4, so I just need to multiply 9 over 2 by 2 over 2 to give me 18 over 4. So now I have 17 over 4 and 18 over 4. Now there's no whole number between 17 and 18, so we need to do the same thing we did in part B and find equivalent fractions. So let's multiply 17 over 4 by 2 over 2. And then we'll also multiply 18 over 4 by 2 over 2. And now we can see that in between 34 over 8 and 36 over 8, we have 35 over 8. So that concludes this lesson. You can now complete the activities before moving on.